Imagine an order so flawed, so utterly suicidal, that it sent over 600 men charging directly into a hail of cannon fire. A plan born not of strategy, but of a catastrophic blunder, fueled by personal animosity and vague commands. This isn't fiction. It's the chilling true story of the charge of the Light Brigade, a moment forever etched in history as a testament to both incredible bravery and devastating incompetence. Get ready to dive deep into one of the most infamous military disasters of all time. Our story unfolds in 1854, amidst the brutal Crimean War. This conflict pitted the British, French and Ottoman empires against Imperial Russia. The stakes were high, with control over strategic territories and naval routes hanging in the balance. The war's focal point was the siege of Sevastopol, Russia's formidable naval base on the Crimean Peninsula. For the British forces, their very survival depended on a fragile supply line running through the port of Balaclava. Losing this vital port would spell disaster for the entire Allied campaign. October 25th dawned, and Russian forces launched a surprise attack on Balaclava. They swiftly overran Ottoman-held redoubts on the Causeway Heights, capturing crucial British artillery pieces. This early setback set a tense tone for the day. Yet this same day also witnessed moments of extraordinary heroism. Sir Colin Campbell's 93rd Highlanders, famously known as the Thin Red Line, calmly repelled a massive Russian cavalry charge with disciplined volleys. Their steadfastness became a legend. Moments later, General James Scarlett's Heavy Brigade, outnumbered 3-1, executed a stunning uphill charge. They routed the Russian cavalry in a display of sheer power and determination. Glory was undeniably possible on this battlefield, but so too was unimaginable disaster. Overseeing the chaotic scene from a high vantage point was the British Commander-in-Chief, Lord Raglan. A veteran of Waterloo, Raglan was known for his distant leadership, and crucially, his often vague orders. His perspective of the battlefield was clear, but his communication was not. Below him in the valley waited the cavalry, led by two men whose personal animosity was as legendary as their military roles. Lord Lucan, commander of the entire cavalry division, was rigid, cautious, and obsessed with literal obedience. His brother-in-law, Lord Cardigan, commanded the Light Brigade. Cardigan was arrogant, reckless, and despised Lucan with a passion. These two men, barely on speaking terms, were now tasked with coordinating in the heat of battle. Their fractured relationship would prove to be a fatal flaw in the chain of command. From his elevated position, Lord Raglan observed the Russians preparing to drag away the captured British guns from the Causeway Heights. To him, this was an intolerable insult and a strategic loss. He believed these guns absolutely had to be recovered. With infantry too far away to intervene quickly, only the cavalry possessed the speed to strike. Raglan dictated a fateful order. Lord Raglan wishes the cavalry to advance rapidly to the front, follow the enemy, and try to prevent the enemy carrying away the guns. On paper, it seems straightforward enough. However, war is rarely straightforward, especially when communication is flawed. From Raglan's high perch, the front clearly meant the Causeway Heights, where the captured guns lay. But from Lucan's position, deep in the valley, the front pointed to something else entirely. The man entrusted with delivering this critical order was Captain Lewis Nolan. Nolan was a brilliant cavalry officer, but also hot-tempered and notoriously impatient with his superiors' perceived caution. He understood Raglan's intent, but his frustration would have dire consequences. Raglan added a final verbal command to Nolan. "Tell Lord Lucan the cavalry is to attack immediately." The spark was struck. Nolan galloped down to Lucan, who read the written order with confusion. "Which guns?" Lucan pressed. "Where?" Frustrated by Lucan's apparent slowness, Nolan gestured angrily down the valley. "There, my lord, is your enemy. There are your guns." Whether careless or deliberate, his sweeping gesture pointed not to the captured guns on the distant ridge, but to a heavily fortified Russian battery at the very end of the valley. It was a death sentence. Lucan, caught between a direct order and his own misgivings, felt compelled to obey. He passed the order to Cardigan, who immediately protested. "The Russians have batteries to our front and on both flanks," Cardigan exclaimed. recognizing the suicidal nature of the command. Lucan's cold, unyielding reply sealed their fate. "It is Lord Raglan's positive order." Cardigan, grim-faced, saluted and muttered, "Here goes the last of the Brudenells," referring to his aristocratic family line. He prepared to lead his men into the jaws of death. The stage was set for an unimaginable tragedy. The Light Brigade formed up in 3 lines, approximately 76 men strong. Sabres drawn, horses restless, they awaited the command. Cardigan, true to his arrogant nature, positioned himself far ahead of his men, alone, seemingly determined to claim all the glory or all the blame. At a trot, then a canter, then a full gallop, they thundered forward. The ground vibrated under the hooves of hundreds of horses. From the ridges surrounding the valley, Russian cannons unleashed a terrifying barrage. Shells tore into horse and rider alike, exploding with devastating force. Grapeshot, a deadly cluster of small iron balls, shredded formations, turning men and horses into mangled heaps. A survivor vividly recalled the horror. "Hell had opened upon us from front and either flank. The air filled with the screams of men and horses, the roar of cannons and the whistle of shot." Amidst this unimaginable chaos, Captain Nolan himself was struck by shrapnel. His body, lifeless, was carried screaming through the ranks as his horse bolted back towards the British lines. The man who delivered the fatal order was tragically the first to die by it, a cruel twist of fate. Still, the brigade pressed on, their courage unwavering despite the carnage. Men fell in waves, horses crashed to the ground, but the line never broke. Their discipline and resolve were absolute, even in the face of certain doom. They were soldiers, and they had an order. After 8 minutes of relentless slaughter, the impossible happened. The surviving members of the Light Brigade reached the Russian guns. They slashed at the gunners, silencing the cannons in a desperate, fleeting moment of triumph. They had seized the unthinkable, but at an unbearable cost. They were too few, too exhausted, and completely surrounded. Their brief victory was unsustainable. With no support, they were forced to retreat, riding back through the very same killing field that had decimated their ranks moments before. The valley was now littered with the dead and dying. Of the approximately 670 men who rode into the valley, fewer than 200 returned mounted. Nearly half the brigade was dead, wounded or captured. Hundreds of horses lay shattered across the valley floor, their silent forms a grim testament to the day's folly. The Light Brigade had effectively ceased to exist as a fighting force. The blame game began instantly. Lord Raglan raged at Lucan, "You have lost the Light Brigade." Lucan retorted that he had only obeyed orders. Cardigan blamed Lucan, and Lucan in turn blamed Nolan. Nolan, already dead, could not defend himself. The finger-pointing was furious, but the damage was done. Back in Britain, the story of the catastrophe quickly transformed. Journalist William Russell's vivid dispatches from the front lines shocked the public. But it was Alfred Lord Tennyson, the poet laureate, who immortalized the event with his iconic poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade. His lines, "Theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die," captured the public imagination. The charge became a legend, not for its strategic brilliance, for there was none, but for the incredible sacrifice and unwavering courage of the men involved. It became a symbol of duty, even in the face of senseless orders. So, who was truly to blame for this monumental disaster? The truth is complex and multifaceted. Lord Raglan for his vague and ambiguous command, Captain Nolan for his frustrated and ultimately fatal gesture, Lord Lucan for his rigid, blind obedience to an order he knew was flawed, and Lord Cardigan for his cold compliance and leading his men into certain doom. The charge of the Light Brigade remains one of history's most haunting reminders. It teaches us that the true cost of poor leadership, unclear communication, and personal rivalries is often paid in blood. It underscores that courage, while admirable, cannot redeem incompetence. And it shows us that even in the darkest moments of disaster, the valor of ordinary men can echo across the centuries, inspiring awe and reflection. They rode into the valley of death, not because it made sense, but because someone had blundered. This story is a powerful reminder of the human element in warfare. What are your thoughts on the chain of command and the responsibility of leaders? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into history fascinating, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating historical explorations. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.